follow in your ways, forever free and unending grace. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, we lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are the love in us, nothing can take your place. You are all we need, your love has set us free.
Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to KidzTown, except it's not KidzTown because we are in a fun new space today. This is the attic up on the 3rd floor.
This is where all the kids in grades 6 to 8 come and meet on Sunday mornings, so we just wanted to give a little sneak peek to our grade 5s who will be joining us up in the attic coming in the fall.
Right. Today, I want to give a special shout out to Isabella, Camila, Miguel, Josue, and Davia, because these guys were away and missed a week, and they sent in their scores for 2 weeks. So good job, you guys.
We also heard from Tanya, Chantel, Praise, Nolan, and Maya Sori again. Thanks, and great guesses on the sound effects game.
That was a fun one. Why don't we take a minute and you can check out the answers and see if you got it right.
And now it's time for this week's game called Extreme Close-Ups.
Good luck. Book of Ephesians, and this week in Big Church, Pastor Jory is preaching in chapter 4, verses 17 to 24.
The main idea of this section is that we must be different from other people. We have to walk differently or act differently.
Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to look at some of those ways that we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to act. But before we get there, we have to figure something else out.
Yeah, that's right. So our actions are important because they have to come from somewhere. And the way that we are is a result of what's inside us. And that comes from what we decide in our hearts and in our minds.
That's right. So I wore this sweater today to kind of give you an example, because I always like to have a picture of what we're talking about.
What's so special about the sweater?
Well, I've had it for a super long time, and it's super comfy. It's kind of the one that I go to when I'm chilly at home and I just need something to throw on. But you can see that I've had it a long time, and it's worn right out. The elastic is almost coming right out there.
Well, I have a great new sweatshirt, and it's cozy and comfortable, and I think it'd be better for you.
Huh. It does look comfortable, but I'm kind of attached to this one.
There's nothing really wrong with old clothes, especially comfy ones that we love. But what if that sweater represented sin, something that we're holding on to because it's what we know and we're not sure if we want to give it up, right? And then what if this new sweatshirt represents forgiveness and freedom and a better life with Jesus?
Well, maybe I could have it too and put it on over top.
I don't know if that would work very
let's see.
well.
It might. Oh, okay, I'm kind of having problems here.
Yeah, I think you have to take off the old sweatshirt and put on the new one.
Okay, so I have to take off the old self before I put on the new self?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what the passage says. It says to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. What are you thinking?
Well, this is something that I have to decide.
Right.
Because no one can decide for me. No one's going to take this off of me and make me put this on. It has to be my decision.
Right. No one can make up your mind for you.
Okay. I'm going to choose, not to give that away, I'm going to choose to take off the old self and to take off the sinful nature. And I'm going to choose to put on the new self that represents that I want to be like God in righteousness and holiness and living for him.
So, boys and girls, before we can live in a right way that shows that we believe in and that we love Jesus, we have to decide that we actually want to.
That's right. That's the first step. And no one else can do it for you.
As we go into this song, we want you to think about that. Have you decided to take off your old self and put on the new self that Jesus has for you?
Maybe today is the day that you decide to do that.
There's nothing worth more that could ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living hope. Your presence, Lord. I
boys and girls, for this breakout, you're going to need a hat. I raided the costume closet downstairs in the basement for Brooke and Yolanda, and they're going to do the actions along with this. I'm going to read to you a story from the book of Acts about Paul, because our lesson today was all about taking off the old and putting on the new. So,
Hey, that's who wrote the book of Ephesians, like the book we're learning about.
exactly, and the story I picked is the one where it's Paul's conversion. So his name was Saul before, so he'll be Saul in the story. But it's when he takes off his old sinful nature and puts on the new life with Christ.
So what do I do with my hat?
Well, see, I rewrote the story and I added on and off a whole bunch more times. So whenever I read in the story and get to on, you put your hat on.
Okay.
And then when I say off, you take your hat off.
Okay, so when you say on, I leave my hat on. And when you say off, I take my hat off.
Yeah.
Okay, so boys and girls, why don't you go grab a hat so you can play along with us?
All right, come on up, Brooke, and we'll read our story. Okay, so Paul was on fire. He was angry. Those Christians were sending him off his rocker with their claims that Jesus was the Messiah from on high. Off he went to the high priest and asked for letters to the synagogue in Damascus so he could go on his way to that city and tell off the Christians there too. He told the high priest to write on the letter that he had permission to take them off as prisoners to Jerusalem. He hopped on his donkey and started off down the road. As he neared Damascus, a bright light shone down on him. He fell off onto the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, why are you persecuting me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up off the ground and go on to the city, and there you will be told what you must do." The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up off the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand on into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. The Lord spoke in a vision to a disciple there named Ananias. He told him to head off to the street called Straight and knock on the door. Knock on the door. Knock on the door.
On, she said on.
They're gonna knock.
And ask for a man named Saul, whose sight was turned off, for he is praying. In his vision, he had seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him to restore his sight. Ananias was almost scared off because he had heard of this Saul and what he had come to Damascus to do. But he obeyed the Lord and headed on his way to Straight Street. When he got there, he started off by placing his hands on Saul and said, "Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus who appeared to you on the road," tricked you, "as you were coming here, he sent me so that you may see again and be filled with the Holy Spirit." Immediately, something like scales fell off from his eyes and he could see again. He got up off his seat, and the first thing he did was get baptized. That's the story of how Saul put off his old self and put on his new self. Good job,
That
you
was
guys.
tricky. I hope you guys had lots of fun doing that.
It's time for the trivia report.
Well, last week we were both away on holidays, but if you ask me, our replacements did a mighty good job.
I agree. All right, boys and girls, let's look at where we left off.
The girls were at 1,413 points, and the boys had a whopping 1,190 points.
Those are some big numbers. All right, we had a couple girls' team scores come in just at the last minute. Otherwise, the boys were going to come in ahead this week.
I sure like a good close game. We ended up with 90 points for the girls, and the boys sent in a very respectable amount of 76 points.
All right, so that takes the girls up to 1,503 and the boys up to 1,266.
I must say, I'm very impressed with those kids that caught up doing 2 weeks worth of points. Good job, everyone. You are truly the team superstars.
Hey, Yolanda,
Yeah,
why did the frog take the bus to work?
I don't know why.
Because his car got towed.
Here are the trivia questions this week.
Good luck, everyone. Although you don't really need any luck because you guys can just look up the answers with the references in your notes.
Yeah, so the first one, Who named all the living creatures?
Second, which of these was not married to a king? Ruth, Jezebel, Esther, or Bathsheba?
Number 3, what did Joshua ask God to make stand still for a day?
And your fourth question, who was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth?
And the last one, what musical instrument did David play?
So we are doing something new with our blessing time this week. This is our blessing jar, and all of your names are in this jar.
So when we bless you at the end of our service, we're blessing all of you, but we're going to pick some names so that you know that we mean it for you.
That's right. Oops, I won't tell you who I dropped. All right, so today we are going to bless Mackenzie and Jonathan and Will and Rylan and Bella and Isaac and Noah.
May you know that you have the power to choose to take off the old and put on the new.
We hope that you make that choice today.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.
You wanna